Hello, welcome back to Mark's house and garden. This is a Paulownia, or a princess tree, or an empress tree, and also known as a foxglove tree, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Now, I've bought this tree for two specific reasons. Number one, I like these big leaves and I want shade over some ferns next to my Jurassic jungle garden. I also want some height. So this will serve both purposes. Now, I bought this from Knowbridge, and David, who owns Knowbridge, gave me a couple of warnings with this plant, and they are very valid. And you need to know about those warnings before you go ahead and buy one of these. And I'll share those warnings with you in this video. I'm going to plant this today. It's going to go up here on this mound where it's going to grow, and it's going to cast shade over some of the ferns and the fascias and the shade-loving plants I've got on the reverse side of this mound next to a new water feature which I'm putting in. So that's today's job. Whilst I'm planting it, I'll share with you some care facts, the two warnings and two solutions to those warnings, and also some very interesting facts about this Paulownia, the foxglove tree. First, let me talk through what I've done in advance. I've got some compost, I've got a bucket of water. That's to soak the hole that this gets planted into before I plant it. I've got a watering can full of water. That's to water it after it's been planted. I've been soaking this for over an hour. Now, this is a drought-tolerant plant, but it's got a lot of leaves, and I'm replanting it, so I want it to be fully hydrated. So I've planted it in this lovely steel tub. I found this tub in the garden, by the way, and I'm going to be using that as a water feature in a future project. I've also got down there to my far right a little crate full of rocks. This is a medium-sized tree, but it will become a large tree. That will grow to 25 meters if you're not careful, and there is a solution to stop it growing so big, which I'm going to share with you shortly. It doesn't really need staking, I don't think, just yet. It's not really got so many leaves on it, it's going to be a big sail. I'm going to reuse the cane that's already in it to give it some stability, but I'm also going to put some of those boulders around the base after I've planted it, just to give it some ballast and hold it in place. It's fast growing. It's now the end of spring, so hopefully by the end of summer, this will have some good roots down. It will lose its leaves in the winter, so next spring, those roots will develop further and hold it in place. So I don't think it's going to need staking. I'm going to keep an eye on it though, and if it's got too much root rock at the bottom, I will stake it. I'm hoping to get away with it. I'm going to go and dig a hole. I'm going to put some of this compost in the bottom of the hole. I'm going to soak the hole with the water. Then I'm going to put the Paulownia into that hole, ballast it down. Whilst I'm doing all that, I'll show you what I'm doing, and I'll talk through some of those interesting facts about this surprisingly interesting small tree. Now, before I settled on this location for this tree, I did have a look at a couple of different options, because once this is in, it's in and it's not being moved. It's going to need a hole slightly bigger than the pot it's in, so I shall use my long-handled Irish spade to go ahead and dig it. Now, it's at the top of a mound. That means it will have great drainage, because the tops of mounds don't hold water. So I will put some compost in the bottom to enhance the moisture retentive qualities of the soil around the base of the plant. But in any event, it will tolerate drought. So given that it is drought tolerant, it should be quite happy in these well-drained conditions. Here you can see actually there's quite a lot of sand in this soil. I am actually very lucky because I have about a foot of very good topsoil, and below that is pure sand. So most of my garden is very well drained and not clayey. Now, before I add any compost to this hole, I'm going to offer it up just to make sure that it's the right size. It is, it's just about right, that. Now, this is much heavier since I've soaked it, so it's a good idea to soak your root balls near where you're going to be doing the work. If I'd soaked it on the far side of the garden, I'd have to carry it a long way, and it's quite heavy. It can come out. Now, this is a deciduous hardwood tree. which is native to East Asia, and it's very widespread in China. One of the two warnings is it's considered invasive in certain parts of the world. The seeds are not always successful in every location, but where the seeds are successful, it can be very invasive. And the reason for that is this plant produces thousands of seeds in a small egg-sized capsule. And those seeds have wings on them, a bit like a sycamore, and they can go for hundreds of meters. So it's very good at distributing its own seeds, and that's why it can become invasive. Let's get some compost and some water in the bottom of that hole, and then we'll get that in. Now, typical for the UK, would you believe that when I started this job, it was actually raining, and now it's sunny. The ideal day for doing a job like this is when it's actually cloudy, or even raining if you can tolerate working in the rain. It is a drought-tolerant plant, but I'm going to give it the best chance by really giving that hole a good soak, because it will transpire a lot of water. It's got big leaves. So while that water is soaking into that hole there, let me tell you another interesting fact about this Paulownia. By the way, if you can see the carpet behind me, forgive me for the mess, that carpet is to line the new water feature which is on the other side of this mound. Right, I mentioned that the Paulownia is invasive, and that's because it produces thousands of seeds from these egg-shaped capsules. There's a way of stopping it from being invasive, but that is at the expense of the flowers, so you have to make a decision. You have to stop it from flowering or remove all the flowers before they turn to seeds, and there's one way you can stop it from flowering, because this plant flowers on mature wood. The wood has to be 1 year old before it will flower on it. So if you pollard this, in other words bring it right back to the base or the trunk, in the springtime it will never produce flowers. That's probably what I'm going to do, because I've not bought this for the flowers. I've bought this for these big leaves to cast shade. Having said that, I'm one of those people that will change their minds, so I may well let this grow 1 year and have some flowers next year. The jury's out on that, but at least I know if I want to stop it being invasive, I can pollard it and stop it producing mature wood, because it flowers on mature wood. There we go. Let's get it into the hole. So the Paulownia loves full sun and will tolerate drought, and it is very fast growing. It will grow up to 25 metres. When I bought this, David from Millbridge was at pains to show me an example of one that he'd let grow, and I will show you some video of that right now. Let that be a lesson to you, or a warning to you, should I say. If you allow yours to keep growing, it'll be way up there, and I've got an electric cable above this, so I'll have to pull out this one. That's not a problem, that's what I want to do. I've got it into the hole. I'll be using my hoe now just to drag the soil back around it, and then I shall give it a good firm in with my size 9 shoes, and then I'll give it a watering, and I will make an indentation around where the root ball is, so that the water will soak down around the roots. In other words, it won't run off down the slope at the top of this mound. I'm also going to push that cane further down into the ground so it's got more stability. That goes down another foot, and that's really quite stable now. Always worth stepping back, having a look from a distance, just to make sure that you've got the vertical. For me, that's great. It's also got this lovely limb reaching out over what will be a water feature. I'll keep the label, it's fallen off, but I will keep it. And that is a good job. I've got a lovely plant there. It feels quite stable, but I'm still going to put some rocks around it and give it a good soaking. Now, if you did want to let it flower and keep its blossoms, well, that's up to you. And of course, I've said the jury's out on mine. I may well let this flower the first time. I might alternate years, but if you do let it flower the flowers are very fragrant and produce lots of nectar. So that's great for this wildlife garden here. And also, an interesting fact about this plant is, some places they actually farm the Paulownia to make Paulownia honey. I wonder what that tastes like. Lots of rocks there for ballast. Now we need to give it a good soaking. So there we go. Foxglove tree, Paulownia, Empress tree, Princess tree. Hope you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed doing that, and I'm looking forward to this growing and becoming quite a medium-sized mature tree with lovely big leaves. Don't forget, all the tools that you've seen me use in this video, the long-handled Irish spade and the large hoe, are available as Amazon links in the description box below this video. And if you buy them, I get a commission, and I appreciate your support. It all goes back into the garden. I'll keep this well watered for the next 6 months whilst it gets established, and I'll maintain this ring donut shaped indentation around the base just to make sure that that water goes down to the roots and doesn't run off. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time now repairing some of the damage I've done here to some of these other plants. I'll see you soon for some more Paulownia adventures. Bye for now.